Welcome. With this video, I want to give you a brief introduction into how to format some text with Quarto. The video is intended for authors who want to contribute to the ERES real estate briefs, and there we require that you use Quarto, that the authors use Quarto, and therefore I prepared this short video. Let me change to my browser and give you a quick look at the Quarto homepage. So it's quarto.org, and when you open this page, you have access to basically all the information that there is about Quarto. There's more information than you will probably need. So let me just help you and guide you to the information that is most essential for writing some text. The best starting point for that, and also for reference, is here the guide. When you go to guide, then you have a table of content here on the left-hand side, and you see here authoring. You also see authoring here as the heading of the first column. When you click here, then we see Markdown Basics, and this is what we'll talk about in this video. So when you click on Markdown Basics, then we get a text that explains the basics of Markdown, and Markdown, or Quarto Markdown, is what Quarto uses for formatting some text. So here you see examples of how you can set text in italics, bold italics, superscript, subscripts, and so on and so on. Different levels of headings, some figures and captions, some lists, how you do footnotes. You can also create tables directly in the text, but we'll talk about this separately. You can enter some code, some raw content. Important are equations here, and there are many other things that you may or may not want to use. We will not touch those here in this video. Another good point of reference is the reference here. So when you click on reference, then you can go to specific points. If you have a specific problem, then you can go to reference and see, for example, well, what options do I have for HTML formatting or for PDF formatting, and so on. So this will become more clearer a little later on. Oops, sorry, this I want to go here. So with these things said, I'll now close that and change the size of this here, and then move to some text here. Here I have a session1b.txt, so I could open this up in some text editor and then mark everything and copy and paste it over to RStudio. What I want to do here now, because it's quicker, I just rename this to QMD, get the warning, say yes, this is okay, and then double click on this session1b.qmd file. Okay, so now I have this session 1B QMD file open here in RStudio. What I also do here to speed things up is to click render on save. And when I save this, now I get this output here. You see, this is just text with some very simple formatting here. So whenever we have an empty line in our QMD file on the left here, like here, or here, or here, or here, or here, then we have an empty line here. Everything between these empty lines, take a look at this part here, which is this here in the output. Everything between the empty lines is treated as one paragraph, and although we have a number of line breaks here in our QMD file on the left in this paragraph, it's just formatted as one paragraph on the right. So with this said, let's do a few first things. Well, we would like to have some section headings. They are here, but they should be in a different font. They should be larger and something like that. And the way to do this is we just enter a hash character and a blank here for introduction. And when we save, then we see here on the right that now introduction got formatted in a larger font. So this is how we format our basic sections. Here we have a section basic formatting, and this section has some subsections like paragraphs. And well, it's relatively easy to guess. Paragraphs are now formatted with 2 hashes and a blank. So we have some more here. We have text decorations. We have lists. And these lists here, it says they come in different forms. And we have here some sub sections, so they'd get 3 hashes and a blank. So we have unnumbered lists, numbered lists, and I think we also have definition lists here. And have to say something about sub lists. This is a second level. Then we have hyperlinks. Now let's make this a third level. Heading, we have hyperlinks. We have footnotes. This is all still in basic formatting. And then we get to a new section, which is called mathematics. So this is where we stop for the moment and I just save so that our output is rendered and displayed on the right-hand side, that we see what we got. So here we see now we have our headings and subheadings defined and all the way to mathematics. Well, 2 more things that we may want to do is, or that we may want to have, is we may want to have numbers here for our sections and for our subheadings and so on. And we may want to have a title and an author for our paper. These things are done in a part of the document which is called the YAML header. and the YAML header is placed in front of the text, and it just starts with 3 dashes and ends with 3 dashes. So this part here now defines the YAML header, and in this YAML header we can now put something like a title colon and give the title. So this is called session 1, and we can also have an author. I give my name here. And we can also say we want to have a specific output format. So the format is HTML. This is the default. That's why it worked before without specifying anything here. We could leave this out, but it's kind of standard practice to enter it, especially since we can provide some sub information subparameters for that, and then we need to define it anyways. We can also enter here number sections and give it the value true. And with this option, number sections, when we set this to true, then our sections should be numbered on the right. So again, I save so that things are rendered. And now this is what we get. Here is the heading. Here we have the title of our article and the author specified. Now also you see that we have numbers for our section headings and subsection headings and so on. Okay. Now let's look a little bit into some text decorations. Here in this section, this is discussed, and we can make parts of our text, for example, italic, bold, italic, and so on. So for italics, we surround the text with 1 asterisk. So 1 asterisk before and after the text, then this text here will be written in italics. Bold gets 2 asterisks. When you use 3, then we set something bold and italic. We can create superscripts in the text. For that, we use this caret at the beginning and at the end. So we need to close this. And similarly for subscripts, we use the tilde sign on our keyboard. For strike-through text, we use 2 tildes at the beginning and at the end. And we can also write text in some fixed width font in the way how code is typically written. For that, we use the so-called backtick. This is an important character that you should make sure you find on your keyboard. It's one of those French accents. Okay, so with that done, let's just save again and re-render. Now this is what we get. You see here we have italic text. We have bold text. Here bold and italic. We have a superscript here, and we have a subscript here. And here this strike-through text is crossed out, and the code formatting, what we surrounded by the backticks, now is written in fixed width code and in some kind of bluish color with gray background. We can also apply a different form of text decoration. For that, we put the text that we want to format into square brackets, as you see here, and then some display class in curly brackets afterwards. So what I've done here is I surrounded this display class with backticks. So if I remove these backticks, these backticks were just there to deactivate this function. So when I remove these backticks to activate the function, then you will see the effect of this. When I save, then you will see that there will be text in small capitals written, some text which is underlined, and the text that got the class mark now is marked with some color background. So this is how we can do this. Let's briefly talk about lists. The most important lists are numbered lists and unnumbered lists. So numbered lists come with 1, 2, 3 or A, B, C, and they are just written like this here on the left-hand side. You have to have an empty line before and after this list, otherwise it will not work. What is important to understand with numbered lists is that actually you can use the same number here, and it will still, as you will see in a second, it will still produce 1, 2, and 3. So it still numbers the lists. The first item is significant. That defines the starting value. So when I change this to 11, then my numbered list should show 11, 12, and 13. As you can see here. Okay, these are numbered lists. For unnumbered lists, start either with a dash and a blank, or with an asterisk and a blank. So we could write it like this, or like this. Either way, we'll get these items now in a bulleted list. So instead of 1, 2, and 3, you can start numbered lists also with lowercase a, b, or uppercase a, b. Then, as you can see here, they will be numbered in this way. The advantage of having the lists of having the same number at the beginning of the list, so always 1, 1, 1, is that you can reorder your list, and you will never have to renumber it. So it makes sense to always keep this actually the same. So here we could say 1, 1, and A, and capital A, and let's render it again. You see here we have lowercase a and b, uppercase A and B, and 1 and 2. Let's briefly talk about sublists. So for sublists, you just indent the list. So here you see, here we have a list with 2 items, and then these items are indented by 4 blanks, and they are then formatted as sublist to the previous list. You can do the same thing also with numbered lists. You can do it with unnumbered lists. You see here that we used dashes as markers at all levels, but these bullets are then adjusted accordingly. And we can also do the same thing with numbered lists. So here we'll have A, and then A1, A2, and then B. Another formatting element we would like to have is hyperlinks. To add hyperlinks, there are actually two ways to add hyperlinks. The simple form, for the simple form, you just round the URL with these less than and greater than characters, like what you see here. In rendering, then this is converted into the text of the hyperlink, and you can click on that and it works like a hyperlink. So if I click here, this is what I get. The second form of a hyperlink is down here. So here you see that in square brackets, I put the text that I want to see on the page, and in round brackets, I put the URL. So here now it says you can access the Eris homepage, and the Eris homepage is a hyperlink, and when I click on that, I again get to the Eris homepage. In a similar form, you can also use footnotes, and also with footnotes, there are 2 different formats, a short one and a long one, so to say. The short one we place right in the text. So the footnote here consists of a caret character, and then in square brackets the text of the footnote. So when I enter this, then there will be a footnote inserted at this point. So let me just save this so that you see the result of the rendering. And here it is. So now here you see the raised 1 here, the footnote marker, and when I move the cursor over that, then you see this is the text of the footnote here. When you click on it, you are sent to the footnote in the HTML document. It's at the end of the document by default. The short version of the footnote works as long as you do not want to place some multiple paragraphs in the footnote or some code in the footnote. If you want to do that, then you need to use the explicit form of the footnote. For the explicit form of the footnote, you place this structure here enclosed in square brackets, a caret and a number as an identifier in the text where the footnote should be marked. And then after this paragraph, typically then you add again the same identifier followed by a colon. So here we have in square brackets caret 3 and followed by a colon, and everything after that is then the text of the footnote. If we want to have more than one paragraph, then we can enter empty lines and then have to indent the next paragraph of the footnote by 4 blanks. Everything not indented here will turn into the following regular text. So if I save this, you should immediately see that here at the footnotes we'll now have not just footnote 1, but also footnote 2 and footnote 3, where footnote 3 now has 2 paragraphs, these 2 paragraphs. At this link here, we can jump back to where the footnote was, to the text. And here you see our footnote 1. You see the footnote identifier 2, the footnote 2, and you see footnote here, footnote 3 here. So this is how we enter footnotes. Now let me come to something very important for well, not any, but for many scientific texts, and this is mathematics. For mathematics, Quarto uses LaTeX capabilities of mathematic formatting, and LaTeX is actually the gold standard of mathematical formatting. The full power of that becomes visible in a PDF document. Here in an HTML document, the capabilities of LaTeX are kind of emulated by some additional software. When I say gold standard of mathematical typesetting, I mean that LaTeX provides tools for mathematical formatting beyond what you most likely are familiar with, and it provides tools from very, very specific areas like advanced mathematics, like chemistry, physics, and so on. The basic way of how LaTeX does this is that it distinguishes 2 basic modes of operation. One is a text mode, and one is a math mode, or the math mode. In text mode, the enter text is formatted as text. In mathematics, in the math mode, it's formatted like a mathematic expression. You can see this here in parentheses here. I have written pretty much the same text, an equation colon, and then the Pythagoras equation. So a squared plus b squared is c squared. And here, down here, I've written the same thing, but surrounded with dollar signs. And this surrounding with dollar signs switches into math mode. So here in the first line, you see this text formatted like a text. And in the second line, you see it formatted like an equation. And when you look here, you see the letters look different. We use LaTeX uses a different font. The A here looks very different from the A here. You see that the equal sign is larger than the equal sign in text mode, that the spaces here are different. Also, you see here that this AND equation has been pulled together, and if you look at this, it really looks like an A times an N times an E times a Q, so just like a product in a mathematics expression. And then there was a space inserted around the colon sign here. So neither of this is of these parentheses here are correctly formatted. In the first one, we just formatted the equation as text, and by doing this, we'll reach our limits very, very quickly. And in the second one, we also formatted the text here as mathematics, and that made it basically unreadable. So when we do this correctly, as you can see here, now we specify the text and equation column in regular text, then switch to math mode and specify the equation in math mode, and that gives this here as a result. Well, with $1 sign, we put some mathematical expressions into text, and down here you see we have a 0, 1, E, I, and pi as mathematical expressions. And you see here, for example, this is just an example, that the character pi is specified as \pi. The same works for other Greek numbers like alpha, beta, and so on, but also for functions like sine or cosine or exp or logarithm or natural logarithm, and so on and so on. If we want to have the mathematical expression not within the running text, but as a separate element, all we need to do is start a new paragraph and surround it with $2 signs. So here we have $2 signs, and that turns it into this expression. And what you see here, the expression is the E, so Euler's number, and then this caret character, and the caret character shifts the next character into a superscript, but since we have more characters, we just put them into curly brackets here, and then this whole part here, this is treated like one character. So this I times pi is put into superscript, so we get here e to the power of I times pi. Minus 1 is equal to 0. So this is Euler's very famous equation. And since we put in after the equation, after the closing double dollar signs, dollar signs, we put in curly brackets an identifier with starting with a hash and EQ dash and something that makes it unique afterwards. We have here an identifier that we can refer to, so we can cross-reference to that equation, and Quarto also puts a number at the end of this equation. So this is now equation number 1, and so on. And we can reference this equation from somewhere else, as we will do later on. You can, of course, specify equations over more than one line here with begin split and end split, and indicating the line breaks, and so on and so on. There is a wiki book for LaTeX mathematics, and I suggest that you consult this to get an expression of what the things are that you can do with Quarto and by the use of LaTeX math mode in your in your formatting. And believe me, the limits are very, very, very far away. Having specified this, let's come to figures and tables. Well, there are two ways of handling figures and tables. The one is the one shown here, and the other one is via our code chunks. And actually, we recommend the second one. So we do not recommend this version here that you see here, especially not for tables. For figures, it may be necessary from time to time if you say have a picture taken, or you need to add some graph from some other publication where you only have the printed output and so on. Then you have to put your figure into an image file, into a JPEG file or a PNG file or something like that, and then insert that into your text. Whenever your picture or your table is based on some numbers that you have to enter or have entered, then you should use the version via code chunks. We'll talk about this in another video where we talk about code chunks. There I will give you some examples of that. So to be very clear, what you should not do is to type in some numbers into Excel and then use Excel to draw some graphs, save these graphs into an image file, and then insert the image file into your text here. This is clearly not the best way to do. Why not? Well, first of all, there are some errors that may creep in. You may enter some typos when you enter the text. Second, the formatting will be different when you use different software, when you use different versions of Excel, when you use different computers, when it runs at different dates. So it's very, very difficult to have consistently formatted graphs from this approach, and the same holds for tables. Also there, the consistent formatting is limited. Moreover, for the real estate briefs project, we as editors, we can support you when you use the approach via our code chunks, but of course we cannot fully support you when you use some other software that we may or may not have on our computers. So again, a strong, very, very strong suggestion to use whenever possible the code chunk option to generate graphs, figures, and tables for your publication. Having said this, how do you introduce some figures if there is a figure that you cannot generate from numbers? Well, the way to do this is like this. You in a separate line, in a separate paragraph, you start with an exclamation mark, and then within within square brackets, you put the heading of the figure, and then within round brackets the path to this the respective image file. So here, for example, I want to add here the file quarto-illustration.png, which is stored in subdirectory slides-1, and it should get the caption figure from the introductory slides. So Quarto has already, as you've seen at the bottom, Quarto has already inserted a preview of that. But let's save and render this now to see what we get. So down here, you see here the figure from the introductory slides and the figure that was inserted. Okay, well, there are some options that you can set, but said again, the preferred way of doing it is via our code chunks. That in particular holds for tables, because here also when you can of course enter tables in this form where we have this the column headings here and then the 3 columns, and of course here we enter the text into the code, and when we save this you will see that it then looks different and nicely formatted. But this is a typical case where we enter the numbers and the text by hand, and so it's better to do this via an R code chunk. So you see here table 1, a simple markdown table, the column headings and the text. Yeah, and a really important thing is citations and references. This is essential for scientific texts. By cross-references, we mean references to other parts of your document. So, well, we already inserted a couple of identifiers in the text. Remember for this for the section on mathematics. Let me just scroll up here. Here I added in curly brackets a hash sec-math. So now I can refer to that and say in this add character here, and then sec-math, we have already added identifiers to the two of the equations. Okay, and these equations were EQ-1 and EQ-2. And if I remove the backticks around this, now you see that these are now references to that. And if I save this, you'll see here that here is our reference to the mathematics section. So it says in section 3, that's the mathematics section. We've already added identifiers to 2 of the equations. And here's the reference to equation 1 and the reference to equation 2. You can change the styling of the referencing. I just see that we also have a reference here to the table. I'll just remove the backticks here. So it works the same way. There's a wide range of identifiers, not just equations, sections, tables, figures. You can also refer to theorems, to assumptions, and so on and so on. This is then added like this. If you want to name it yourself and just want to get the number, you can also do this very easily. Another issue is references to literature, and in many cases people just type in the references to the literature that they cite by hand, and this is something that we very, very, very strongly suggest that you do not do. This will add a lot of potential sources of error, of problems. You'll probably forget some references. You'll probably have references in the list of references that are not used in the text anymore because they were deleted in some editing round, and so on and so on. So the suggested way to do that is to use the BibTeX capabilities that are built into Quarto. And I do not want to go in detail into that here. Just to let you know that what we need to do is in our YAML header, we need to say bibliography, and it's called bibliography.bib. And when I add this, then Quarto will use the references specified in this bibliography file. And here I have some references to entries in this file. Again, they are specified like other cross references. So what we add here is again this add character followed by an identifier of the reference. And now here you see that on the right hand side you see that I added at Lamport 1986 as you see here as reference, and that then leads to a cross reference where it says Lamport and in brackets 1986. And when you move the cursor over that, you see the reference, and when you click on this, then you get to the reference specified at the end of the document. We only have this one reference, so that's not much to see here. The second way of doing it is to place this reference in square brackets, and then the reference is put in is rendered in round brackets. By default, Quarto adds the list of references to the end of the document, but you can also specify where you want the list of references to appear with this structure that you see here. So where you say, here's the title of the list of references, and here where we have these identifier of refs, this is where I want the references to appear. So far we had references right in front of the footnotes. Now you see the footnotes are gone, and we now have list of references here and the reference. And since this was not at the very end of the text, this text here, instead of going and so on, appears after our list of references. This is of course not what we want in the long run, but I just want to show you that you can place the list of references at these points. Let's take a quick look into our bibliography file. Here it is, bibliography.bib. So when I open this bibliography file, you see here. So here, for example, is the entry that I used in my references. So Leslie Lamport, LaTeX document preparation system, Edison Wesley Publishing Companies, 1986. This is that, and here is the key that we used to reference to this entry. But what you also see is that there are a lot more references in my bibliography.bib file which do not show up in my list of references. And the reason for that is that I have not used them in the text, and so they are not referenced in my list of references. So I could have a very long extensive bibliography.bib file, or however I want to call it, and from that extract only those references that I need. The structure of the bib file may be a little demanding when you look at it. So check out this entry here that we used before. Here we have at the beginning an indicator which says this is a book. Then we have the marker that we use to cite this reference in the text. And then after that, you have a list of entries where the first one says, okay, this is the title. The second one says, this is the author. The third one says, this is the year when this was published. And the fourth one gives the publisher. A more extensive entry is this one here. So in addition to the previous, first of all, this is a journal article. So it starts with article here. And then we also have the name of the journal, the volume, the number, the pages, and a DOI number. So when you look at this, it may be tempting to say, okay, I avoid all this complexity and just type my references by hand. The big drawback of this strategy is that whenever some format changes are needed for your references, you have to do these by hand. When you have a bib file like this one here, then the formatting will be done according to some general specifications of the journal, or in our case, of the editors of the series. And in these specifications, it will say when this is an article, then format it in this way. For example, then take the entry for journal and put this in italics, then specify the volume, forget the number of the journal, but add the pages, and so on and so on. When it's a book, then it will be formatted in a different way, and so on. So if this formatting has to change from one run to the other, or if you reuse the bib file in some other publication for some other journal, then these changes in the formatting will be adjusted automatically. There is actually a great tool available in RStudio that saves you from most of the hassle of the structure of the bib file. In the long run, of course, it makes sense to know a little bit about the structure of the bib file, but it's fairly easy and there is good documentation around on the web. The tool that you can use actually has to do with another form of editor that we have not used yet. So when we go back to our Quarto document, then you see here at the top two buttons, a source button and a visual button. So far, we've always used the source editor, because that is very straightforward, and there you see exactly what you enter and what causes which result in the output. The visual editor does this also already in some part in the editor. One of the drawbacks of the visual editor is, especially when you switch around from the source editor to the visual editor and back, that the visual editor sometimes misinterprets some of the code that you've entered, and then especially insert some escape characters where actually you don't want escape characters, so that you may get some changes that you then have to manually remove. So for that reason, I usually use the source editor and only the source editor. The only exception is with references where I want to use the tool that is only available in the visual editor. And this is what I want to show you now. For that, I start a new Quarto document here, give it just the name demo, and I could click here, or let's do that, use visual markdown editor, and then say create. So now you see here that our editor window looks somewhat different. Now the visual button here is activated. If I go back to the source button, then I have the standard source output or formatting. When I go back to visual, I see this. In addition to that, I also have some entries here to the right of these buttons, among them insert. And this is where the tool that I want to show you is located. So when I work with that, what I do here is, first of all, I say bibliography and refs.bib. That's a new file. Yeah, I also save this file here now as demo.qmd. It seems I already have this, so let's call it demo1.qmd. To get to the tool, what I want to do now is I want to generate a bib file for a couple of entries. And for this, I just go to the end of my file here, say, put the cursor here, say, here I want to add my entries, and then I can go here to insert. Actually, let me just go to full screen mode here so that we see this better. I go to insert here and say I want to insert a citation. When I click on this, I get to this form here, which gives me a number of options from where I can draw some references. The two I want to demonstrate here are Crossref and from DOI. Crossref is a huge database of scientific journals, books, presentations, entries, and this database is built on the basis of the so-called DOI numbers. The DOI numbers are digital object identifier numbers, and they are intended to identify uniquely every published piece of digital information. So among them, all the journal articles and all the big journals, they have DOI numbers for their recently published articles, where recently means in the last probably 15 years. And so all the recently published articles are in there, because to get the DOI number, they have to register the articles in the databases of Crossref. If I want to cite one of those articles in my text, I click Crossref here and then say, okay, what I want to cite. So one option is Paul Krugman's article from 1991 in the Journal of Political economy. When I click search here, then hopefully I get this article. Here it is, Increasing Returns in Economic Geography by Paul Krugman, 1991 Journal of Political Economy. That's the one that I meant. So I can click on this here, and as you see here now, there is some entry down here. I could click more from this list, or start a new search and insert more here. But this is enough for now. And when I click insert, then two things happen. On the one hand, here the entry Krugman 1991 is added, and on the other hand, Quarto generated a new file, refs.bib. Here it is, and when we open this, we see here the BibTeX entry for this article by Paul Krugman. This is done automatically, and you don't have to worry about the title, the type, and so on. The other thing that you can do with that is to go in here and say, I want to get it from a DOI. And let me just search for a DOI here. Let me go to this to the journal region here. Here is a DOI number, and I just copy this and copy it in here. Actually, the DOI number is just this part here. When I enter this and click search, you see here I get again this entry. Again, I click on that and say insert. Now I have also this entry by Thomas Wieland here, and the one by Paul Krugman. When we go to the refs.bib file, we see that now we also have the Wieland entry here. So we have Wieland and Krugman, and when we just save here and render, then we should see here in our browser entries for Krugman and for Wieland, and the two entries in the list of references. So when I use this tool, what I do is, the corresponding bib file is generated automatically, but what's not done automatically is to enter these references. So I may want to have in my session here, I may want to have the reference to Krugman at some place. So I copy this and say, okay, suppose I want to have this under the headings sublist. So I enter it here, and at the end of the heading sublist, say I want to have the Wieland reference. So I copy that and put it in here, and also need to say refs.bib here. Okay, we now specified two entries in our bibliography entry in the YAML header, and now you see here, here's the Krugman 1991 entry, here's the Wieland 2025 entry, and at the end we have Krugman, Lamport, and Wieland, all three in our list of references. So with this tool, you can avoid most of the hassle of the BIP file and the formatting of the BIP file. Also, as I said before, in the long run, it makes sense to get some basic understanding of the structure of BIP files. That may be helpful.